Hello, everyone. Thank you for welcoming me tonight to our Red Hook Town Board meeting. My name is Nikki Lewis, and I am here today to share with you all some environmental considerations for the power plant proposal that is coming to our Hudson Valley region. I'll begin by grounding us in the geography of the region where this proposal is occurring. The Hudson Valley encompasses the Hudson River and adjacent communities. It is comprised of 11 counties that are separated into upper, middle, and lower regions. In the south, we are bordered by New York City, and in the north by the capital region of Albany. The Hudson Valley is just over 7,000 square miles and is known for the natural beauty of the Shawangunk and Catskill Mountains, our Hudson Highlands, rolling hills, farmland, and the rivers. As is true in every community across the globe, unfortunately, our region has been and will continue to be significantly impacted by climate change. In order to better understand this, I want to ensure that we have a common understanding of a few key terms that I will be using throughout this presentation. The first is weather. Weather refers to the local atmospheric conditions that occur in an area over a short period of time. Examples of weather that we are all very familiar with include rain, clouds, winds, floods, thunderstorms, and snow. Climate, on the other hand, is a term used to describe the long-term regional or global average temperature, humidity, and rainfall patterns that occur over seasons, years, or decades. Climate change is the long-term change in average weather patterns of local, regional, and global climates. And a term that many of us may be familiar with at this point is global warming, which refers to the rising average global temperatures caused by human activities which increase the greenhouse gas levels in the atmosphere. While climate change and global warming are related, they are distinctly different terms. Both climate change and global warming are the result of increases in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, in many cases as a result of human activities such as burning fossil fuels and modifying land use for forestry and agriculture. As we saw in the last slide, climate change is the long-term change in average weather patterns and has a broad range of effects which include melting ice caps, wildfires, vegetation cover change, heat waves, droughts, rising land and ocean temperatures across the globe, and unfortunately more. Global warming is the heating of the Earth's surface and has been observed since the 1800s and is just one of these many indicators of climate change. So why is climate change occurring? Climate change is the result of both natural and human-caused or anthropogenic mechanisms. Natural mechanisms, such as changes in the radiation from the sun, also known as solar irradiance, affects the ozone layer of the atmosphere. The ozone layer is what protects us from harmful radiation by absorbing some of it and then radiating some of that sun's heat back into space. Another example is the Milankovitch cycles, which explain that Earth's position relative to the sun is a strong driver of Earth's long-term climate and is based on eccentricity, obliquity, and precession. Drivers of climate change that are caused by humans include land use changes, which have been documented since pre-industrial era, including deforestation, afforestation, and also impact carbon emissions and albedo, or the ability of Earth's surface to reflect sunlight. Greenhouse gas emissions also drive climate change by trapping heat in Earth's atmosphere and causing land and ocean temperatures to continue rising due to activities such as burning fossil fuels. Now let's take a look, with this information in mind, at past climate in the Hudson Valley. As the result of rising temperatures that led to more evaporation and precipitation, major rainfall events in the Hudson Valley increased by 74% in the time period of 1980 to 2009 when compared to the time period of 1950 through 1979. Climate change has also resulted in melting ice sheets and glaciers, as well as the expansion of seawater through rising ocean temperatures, which has caused the sea level to rise by more than 12 inches since 1900. Further, sea levels are expected to rise another 18 to 75 inches by the year 2100. This graph displays trends in climate change over more than a 100-year period based on climate data that was available from a location in the Hudson Valley, Port Jervis, New York. This data shows that the average temperature each year has steadily increased over time. In 1922, the average annual temperature was about 9 degrees Celsius or 48 degrees Fahrenheit, and has increased up to an average of 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit as of 2022. If this trend continues on at the same rate, then in the next 100 years, by 2122, we can expect the average annual temperature to reach 11 degrees Celsius or 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Although this may not seem like an extreme difference for us, it can make a significant difference in sea levels rising, the crops that we can grow, extreme weather we experience, as well as significantly a minimum of 650 additional deaths each year from extreme heat. Increased rainfall intensity that results in monthly precipitation of 1 inch greater for December through April by the end of the century, and worsened air quality due to increasing emissions and wildfires caused by climate change. Now, this specifically means for our area that an estimated sea level rise of between 2 and 4.5 feet by the year 2100 will displace residents, wildlife, impact local businesses, especially those on the waterfront, and even flood the rail line for freight trains and other train passengers. The shift in seasons as a result of increasing global temperatures will also impact ecosystems, forest productivity, agricultural land use, and resource-based industries. Species that will be most vulnerable to this include conifers like spruce and fir trees that provide important habitat, freshwater mussels, amphibians, cold-water fish such as trout, and the habitat of dragonflies and damselflies, which are strong indicators of ecosystem health. From a socioeconomic standpoint, the impacts of climate change, including rising temperatures, extreme climate events, changing seasonality, and increased precipitation, will disrupt agricultural productivity. This is significant for the Hudson Valley because New York farms generated $5.7 billion in gross income in 2017, and 12% of New York State agricultural sales come from farms in the Hudson Valley. Additionally, climate change puts our seasonal and outdoor economies at risk, which brings millions of people to the Hudson Valley every year. In fact, even in 2020, in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, tourism in the Hudson Valley contributed over $2.2 billion to the region's economy. With all of this in mind, what can we as a community and as a state do to address climate change? Two possible solutions that I recommend are, at the community level, integrating agroforestry into land management practices, and at the state level, developing a state wetland program plan to protect wetlands in New York State. Agroforestry is a strategy in which farmers intentionally mix trees and shrubs into crop and animal production systems. Two options would specifically be alley cropping, in which trees or shrubs are planted in sets of rows with crops. The benefits of this practice are higher value and longer-term crops, improved soil quality, and enhanced habitat for wildlife. Another practice is called silvopasture, in which trees are combined with pasture and livestock production to produce diversification of livestock and plant products, reduce nutrient loss, and improve livestock health and productivity. In general, agroforestry practices sequester carbon in soil and biomass, reduce greenhouse gas emissions by reducing the use of field equipment, and enhance energy conservation around the buildings on the farm. As a second strategy, wetlands in our region, including the Hudson River estuary and tidal wetlands, have an important role in our region as a sink for greenhouse gases. This means that carbon is stored in these areas instead of being released into the atmosphere, where it would then contribute to climate change. However, wetland conditions can be severely impacted by climate change, such as through temperature increases and increased precipitation. These changes can result in the loss of that carbon that is stored in the soil and can affect plant and animal communities that rely on those areas for habitat, among other impacts. Currently, New York State does not have a state wetland program plan. State wetland program plans are collaborative, voluntary, strategic plans that are created and implemented by state agencies with established goals that will be achieved through broad-based actions over a 3 to 6 year time frame to protect and restore these critical ecosystems. On another note, on an individual level and local level, we can all take steps to address climate change. For example, when it comes to our food consumption, choosing food options from the farmers, some of which are sitting right in this room, is a great place to start. We are fortunate enough to have a number of farmers markets in the area, including 9 year-round farmers markets, such as the Hudson Valley Farmers Market, which is located right here in Red Hook at Gregg Farms, held 7 days a week. Additionally, many of our grocery stores have a section of locally sourced options and ingredients. Choosing organic and local foods that are in season help to reduce the transportation that would be required to deliver food to us from all across the globe by plane, train, or truck, which all emit fossil fuels for fuel and keeping the food stored at a cool temperature so that they can stay as fresh as possible. As residents, we can also take steps within our own home to source our electricity through a certified renewable energy provider, such as Ambit Energy, which provides solar power to our area. Solar power converts the energy from sunlight into electrical charges that can be used in our home without the use of fossil fuels, which substantially reduces greenhouse gas emissions, contributing to climate change, as well as other air pollutants. Thank you all again for welcoming me here tonight. I hope this presentation emphasized the importance of the environmental factors that are shaping this important decision we all have about the power plant that is coming to our region. Please feel free to ask me any questions you may have at this time, or you can reach out to me via email or phone as posted on the screen. Thank you so much.